Meta's fact-checking changes are just what Trump's FCC had asked for. At least that's from The Verge, and I won't. They've taken a bent there. My interest in this was, the first I'd heard of this was watching Zuckerberg's video, which I thought was all manner of hilarity all on its own, because try as he might, he just doesn't know how to read. It's not about reading the room. He just doesn't know how to nail authenticity, shall we say.
I don't know that he even knows anymore what life outside of Facebook is. What's with the $2 million watch? What's with the hairdo? What's with all of it? Like,
and it's like what the comedians were saying about, this is appeal to Gen Z or something like that with the look or whatever. And like the more he tries, the worse it gets.
Well, I think, anyone who's seen the film The Social Network would know that, not that anyone's seen him in public really for the last 20 years, but it was apparent that he might be socially awkward.
And who better to have in charge of a social network?
Well, that's right. I think the irony with all of that. And then, I think he's been a bit bruised in past encounters with Trump. I think he overplayed his hand maybe as far back as 2016 or 2020 around the idea of him perhaps one day becoming president. And I think probably Trump showing him how it's done, and Zuck probably knows that he can't do it. I don't know. It's very weird, isn't it?
Absolutely. All right, so I think... All right, we sidetracked a little bit, but let's get back to the actual story at hand, which was the removal of fact-checking off of Facebook. And I don't know, on the one hand, it probably doesn't matter because there's so much rubbish circulating on Facebook anyway, probably all AI generated at this point, that it probably doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, I think it may be a more symbolic thing that it's an issue, it's a bit hard not to see it as kowtowing, along with what a lot of the other tech bros are doing at the moment with Trump coming in. And he almost didn't need to. Well, I mean, if it was a real issue, he probably wouldn't have even announced it in a video like that. He probably would have just quietly tweaked the settings, on the side without saying anything. But obviously, it was a statement that he wanted to get in the good graces or whatever. But it all just reeked as not, like, oh, we're making this landmark decision for the benefit of the community or whatever. And it's like, it's got nothing to do with any of that. It's just like, my reaction to it is that I barely use Facebook anyway. Yeah, we do some posts for the podcast on it, but I don't use it personally. But this is almost I saw that video and I was like, maybe I'll just take myself off it completely, because I just can't. I just can't deal with the stupidity of it all.
Well, there is the question about who actually uses Facebook anymore, and then there's an additional step to this, which is he's also come out in recent weeks suggesting that, in fact, he's going to boost numbers on Facebook by creating AI accounts to create deeper engagement. And if you know the history of Facebook, which people like us do, where in the past he's been quite happily creating fake accounts to boost revenue and the size of his potential advertising reach. Is he going to tell us which ones are AI? No one's going to know. No one's going to be able to tell. Fake news, what does it matter anyway? Because as far as I can tell, everything on Facebook's fake. Even the posts from your friends. So, so it is, you're right, it's very weird. And it's really a lot of this discussion and it's not just kowtowing to Trump. I think it also shows that he's a guy that's kind of running out of ideas.
What was funny was that I didn't share this with you. I only saw it briefly before we got on before, but apparently he went on Joe Rogan and was complaining that Apple is stagnating and hasn't innovated anything in, I don't know, the last 10 years. We can have a separate debate about that because they've definitely gone into a more pedestrian mode of moving things forward. But my immediate reaction to that comment was, well, What exactly has Facebook innovated on?
Well, that's it. To me, I was going to say that sounds like a complaint that Apple's done nothing for Facebook.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, I don't know, what's Facebook done for Apple?
Well, I'm sure it would be a different story if Apple wasn't charging him 30% out of the App Store or something like that. But, I'm sure they're not being that petty, or he's not being that petty, I should say.
Well, that's right. But yeah, it's very interesting. Just getting back onto that fact checking doesn't matter anymore. Look, in my personal opinion, once those fake posts or damaging content goes up, it's too late. You can fact check and you can scream or call it afterwards, but it ain't going to make a lick of difference, because people who see it and want to believe it will believe it, and the rest of us probably are just so confused we've got no idea anyway.
Just one last thing that it's made me think about. We've talked about the publisher versus platform argument in the past, and whether or not they should be lumped in with traditional media in terms of being held accountable for what gets posted on their site. What made me another different spin on this actually is leaving aside the traditional arguments one way or the other for that. Maybe it's in their interest to have some sort of that not accountability, that checking in place, just for the making the platform like digestible by a rational person. Because if this change yields in bottom of the barrel behavior coming out, nobody's going to want to go on there except for anyone that wants to engage in that sort of stuff, and then it becomes like a polluted brand if it isn't there already. And I just wonder if that might be, if anything, that might actually be a positive for them if they actually had that.
I think you're spot on there, and I think you'll probably find that's the motivation for the AI profiles. I'm not sure that Zuck would be as thoughtful about you on this topic and see the potential if they created AI profiles that lifted the standard of discourse, were less polarizing, less interesting, but more reasonable. Then you would think that actually that would be a great service, because that would limit the spread of damaging content. But interesting, if all those AI bots are going to do is drive more engagement, then the things that we know, which are the negative responses, the visceral responses to posts about kids being fed into minces and the injustices of someone from somewhere else coming to your street and eating the cats and dogs.
Exactly, yeah.
Anyway, well, I don't think we need to say more about that, but I think Facebook's truly at a crossroads.
Yeah, and as a final point, it just kind of, like, to me, throws the whole social media landscape into doubt in terms of, I know that generations coming through have known nothing else. Like that's just a way of doing business in the world now, using social media. But I feel a lot more disengaged from it than ever before. And I don't like, okay, there's alternatives. Blue Skies come up, and I don't know, TikTok's probably encroaching in the video space and things like that. But I just don't see, like, it's almost like a project that was a good idea at the time, but has run into the practicality of the bargain basement of human behavior.
That's right, as has the whole internet, Try and find an honest review, try to find an honest seller or buyer on Marketplace, try and find an internet free from violence and other awful things. And I don't see it.